Excellent. Pardon me.
Thanks
Everything's great. Yep, absolutely. Well, it's great to see both of you again. Thank you for your time very much as we go through the June 8th edition of Monday with the Mayor. We've got a lot to talk about. There is a lot of stuff going on, and I'll start first, Mr. Mayor, with the events of yesterday in the town and the walk across Ravenel Bridge. Your thoughts, sir?
Couldn't be prouder of how things went yesterday from the town standpoint, being an official with the town, but just also my heart being with our town. As Chief Ritchie said, there were no arrests. You know, there was no damage. There was no vandalism. There was hardly any trash left behind. It was a peaceful exercise of First Amendment rights, which we value, which even elected officials, not just law enforcement, we take an oath to uphold. And the way that our police worked with the organizers of this from the start to not make this a we-they situation. You could feel it when you were down there. There were families with children. This was a peaceful cry for unity. I think our police chief did a great job in his speech. He did a great job in working with them. And then when another group decided that they wanted to do a walk from the Walmart at Wando Crossing up to town center and back, you know, that was a last minute thing. That was not part of the original plan, but that went well. And we're very blessed as a community. And I can't say enough about our police, also our fire. They were doing the first aid yesterday. They had at least one person on the bridge they had to treat. It was hot and humid. If you were out yesterday, you know how hot and humid it was, and it was even worse on the bridge. But also don't forget our often unheralded public services workers. If you could have seen the, I'll call it an armada of trucks pulling equipment. Everybody thinks about law enforcement and fire, and you saw our law enforcement had a safety lane blocked off on the bridge, but you don't always see all of the directional things, the signs, the lighting, you know, standby lighting in case things had kept going till after dark, which we're pretty sure they wouldn't. But our staff under Eric DeMora's leadership was ready for anything and everything. And so there were lots of public services workers who were out there in reflector vests yesterday as well. I think it went well. I think the press coverage bodes well for Mount Pleasant in the way that things were done. And that was our team. That was our staff that did that. The best thing we elected officials could do was stay out of their way and be there, you know, should they need anything. There was a lot of coordination going on regionally. I did talk to the governor's office just in case we had needed National Guard or something like that, but you know, none of that was needed. We didn't even have a curfew this weekend. Mm-hmm. So we feel very good about it. I think it's in the paper today. I put out yesterday, I think it was one of our town's finest hours. Just the way the cooperation came about. And, you know, and I'll just say this on a personal note, at times like this, and people may have one side or the other, but what keeps us together and what makes America work is when people feel like they're being heard, that what's important to them is being heard, not stereotyped, not cast aside. Oh, we don't want to hear that. We've been dealing with the coronavirus now. Yeah, we've all got corona fatigue. We really do. But when people know they are heard and that their voices matter, that's the start of something good. Where it all goes from here, I don't know. But it won't change. Nothing changes, whether it's this or anything else, until people listen to others and say, you're part of my community. You're part of who I'm here to serve. And let's see how we can, you know, keep things good and keep things peaceful between us. So Shane, thanks for asking.
Absolutely, and there's a very powerful picture floating around social media today, Chief Ritchie, with a gentleman there at the bridge. It's very powerful and floating around social media. So if you have not seen that, take a look. It's all over social media. So very interesting to say the least, and just a very powerful picture. That's pretty much all I'll say about it. When you see it, and my first reaction was, wow, that is simply an incredible shot. Incredible shot. And that pretty much encapsulates what the day was like yesterday, right, Mr. Mayor?
What's that?
It pretty much encapsulates, that picture pretty much encapsulates what that day was like yesterday.
It really does. And you know, everybody's been really busy in this since last weekend, all the surprise of what happened in downtown Charleston. And people may forget, Chief Ritchie and our police have been helping Charleston out since last week. And I know Carl has been working round the clock, basically, you know, from last Friday through yesterday and all. And I hope he gets some rest. But he and our police, one that I was talking to yesterday, he was down there Saturday night, and I can't tell you the exact number. I would guess it's between 25 and 40 that have been down there, and sometimes even more. You saw our big MRAP with Mount Pleasant on there, that our armored personnel carrier and all that. They were down there. So it wasn't just a one-day thing that our police have been doing in response to all this, nor will ours. You know, as an elected body, as a town, as Lauren knows, we have boards and commissions. We have a new one, and we're encouraging applications to our settlement community advisory board to just help us as a town of Mount Pleasant. And probably, I haven't looked at the map, but probably more of the settlement communities east of the Cooper, more of the land area is not in the town of Mount Pleasant than is, although a lot of it is. But, you know, we have to work together as a community, and it's a cliche, but we are all in this together. This is all our community. And Shane, I like what you said. I think that picture from yesterday shows the Mount Pleasant way and the community that Mount Pleasant is. And I'll say too, that Unity Walk, that was not the first one in Mount Pleasant. We had the big one after the Emmanuel 9, and just a horrible tragedy. And then there was another one that I don't think got as much play that media play, but that I was there for. And it was either in 16 or 17. I can't remember if it was after the Walter Scott shooting or just another national sort of, you know, outbreak of that kind of unrest. But we had another Unity Walk on that bridge. So that's 3 good ones. And that bridge really serves as a sign of our unity here. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of our people, Shane.
Thank you for commenting on that. Unfortunately, there is one event that had to be canceled, a very historic event that had to be canceled in Mount Pleasant, the Blessing of the Fleet. And, you know, this wasn't really a surprise to me. There are a number of events across not only the state, but also the country that are being canceled. And the Blessing of the Fleet, unfortunately, was one of those that took a hit. So no Blessing of the Fleet in 2020, correct?
Yeah, and we really came to that conclusion. It was staff runs that. And it's a thing that the town puts on. In case there's any confusion about that, the town is the event organizer. You know, we do the contracts with all the folks, and Lauren, you can probably jump in here, but we're the ones that arrange for there's the music, and of course we have sponsors and all of that. And so weeks and weeks ago, we reached the decision point. You know, it was like watching that rocket launch. That was great. Was that last week or was that 2 years ago? I can't remember now. It seemed like forever. But, you know, like that NASA thing where you get to a go or no-go point. And weeks ago, we were already at no-go. And just because the announcement was last week, that there was no cause and effect between the civil unrest or the march yesterday and the decision. It was not like we said, oh, we must now therefore cancel the Blessing of the Fleet because people want to have a peaceful protest. That decision has been in the works, and actually we came to that decision a good while ago, put it on hold for a while in case there was some dramatic change, in the COVID landscape, which there has not been. As a matter of fact, and we'll touch on this, the numbers this weekend while everybody was watching other things, the numbers are pretty high. So that was something that wasn't going to happen from weeks ago. And we have to be careful as a town because, one, we are putting on something, and let's just look at that march yesterday. I've seen numbers from 500 to 2,000 people were at the march yesterday. Lauren, wouldn't you say we have easily 10,000 people at the Blessing of the Fleet? Is that kind of
easily? Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So weeks ago we decided A, that wasn't worth the risk, and B, after all our law enforcement, public services, and fire have been through COVID, and now the civil unrest, that's one more thing that we would burden them with and risk their exposure. So that was a common sense decision. The Patriots Point fireworks, which is sort of the de facto town of Mount Pleasant 4th of July fireworks, was canceled. And although that is not a town decision, I did ask them to consider that. And so did Mayor Tecklenburg, because thousands of people would gather in Charleston and watch it as well. And so Patriots Point did make that decision, not the town, but I'm not running from that one. I was part of that, and I agree with that one, but it was not the town itself per se. But like you said, Shane, we'll get life back to normal next year, and who knows, maybe Christmas and New Year's, there's all this pent up Festivus in all of us, and we'll get out and do it.
A Festivus for the rest of us. Yes, I've told my wife multiple times, we love to visit my in-laws in the upstate. They live on a very large piece of land, and I've told my wife multiple times since all of this went down, I cannot wait to be sitting in my mother-in-law's living room watching the ball drop, and we're back to normal at that point. And looking back at 2020, and we'll be saying, man, what was that all about? But you know what? We made it through. We're better for it. Now we can move on into 2021. So that's kind of a goal I have for myself as we head down through 2020. I did want to go back to the COVID-19. I did some research on statistics, and I guess this is really not a time to let your guard down when it comes to COVID, because looking at the statistics, it's interesting. Right now, Charleston County ranks 4th in the state in number of cases at 776. Saturday, unfortunately, was our highest daily increase in the state in COVID cases. And if you look back a month ago, so in 1 month, going from May 7th to June 7th, the number of cases in the state have now doubled. So on May 7th, we were sitting at 7,142 cases. And as of June 7th, which was yesterday, we're looking at 14,280 cases. Now, we have had about 6,500 folks that have recovered. Unfortunately, we're right at the 500 mark, or just past the 500 mark in death. So a lot of this has to do with the number of testing. Obviously, that is up, but also too, Mr. Mayor, we're getting out and about now. We're doing more. I mean, I hosted a wedding on Saturday, and these folks had no idea that COVID-19 was going on, evidently, because it was just business as usual. I'm not faulting them for that, but it was a bit concerning. So I guess my question is to you, it's not really a time, given those statistics, for our businesses to set back on their laurels and go, oh, we're fine. We can continue to keep moving forward and be normal. It's not normal. We are moving forward, but we have to kind of wade into the shallow end of the pool, right?
Yeah. And I was thinking the other day, I don't know if it's the summer weather, but we sort of, the time of year and everything. My wife finishing the school year, y'all know she's a 5th grade teacher at Jenny Moore, and they had the drive-through graduation Thursday night, and I got to participate in that. And we're sort of in our summer mentality, but somehow I was doing a mental transporting back to March. And I remember the very first regional meeting I sat in on that the Council of Governments had, and they had, mayors from all over and people from Joint Base Charleston and law enforcement and state DHEC, everybody that was going to have a major effect or be affected in a major way by this. And one of the things that I remember, a takeaway, and I love kind of simple takeaways, was that the one thing this virus needs to thrive and to wreak havoc on us, our health or just our mentality, is for us to ignore that social distancing stops this virus. We're finding out that contact, surface contact spread is yes, disinfect and do all that. But it is not a primary means for this virus to spread, as is our breathing on each other and sharing germs that way. And it is so great to see businesses back. It's so great to see restaurants back. I mean, I drive around Mount Pleasant, and in the last week I've been all over Mount Pleasant, every part of town, and going up to Park West and seeing a new Park West Boulevard construction coming along and all of that. It's so good to see our economy vibrant again. But given those numbers that they've doubled in a month, and the deaths are now over 500, it is not time to ease up on the social distancing. It is not time to forget that. And when you think about it, it's very simple. I hate to say simple, but I mean, just keeping 6 feet and taking those common sense things, wear a mask. That's not so hard. It's kind of cool. There's all kind of chic masks now. There's probably a Mount Pleasant chamber mask out there, which would be a good thing. But for right now, we fought a war against this thing. To me, this has been a war. And I think what this virus would love, I know it doesn't think, but if it was an enemy, I know it would love for us to go, oh, it's summertime. Let's forget all that. Shane, I told you earlier that I've heard no talk, state, county, or local, about any more shutdowns or anything like that. But one of the things we need to touch on is, what is the school year going to look like? There's an upcoming conference call. I think it's Thursday. It's on my calendar that Dr. Postlethwaite with the school district is going to have. They want all the towns and county officials and everybody to be on the same page. If you're a Mount Pleasant business person, you have school-aged children, I don't need to tell you that what the school year looks like is going to affect you in a major way. And so I don't even have any foretelling of what the school year is going to look like. And I'm married to one of the teachers. But we'll find out what that's going to look like. It may affect, there may be a lot more teleworking this year in the fall than anybody thought about. May have a great effect on traffic. Who knows? We were talking earlier. If everybody's working, as long as it doesn't mean nobody's getting a paycheck and there are 20,000 less cars on the road a day in Mount Pleasant, that would not be a bad thing as long as everybody's working and getting their paycheck, right? So those things are coming up. We'll know something. It's for the school district to announce, but that could affect what your work day looks like, depending on if you got school-age children.
Well, it is interesting too, because so much of our lives are wrapped around schools. You know, my wife is a dance instructor, and their studio runs on the school calendar. You've got daycares and childcare and all that runs on the school calendar. So obviously, a decision when that's made, that's going to affect a lot of people either way. So we'll keep our eyes on that. You know, Mr. Mayor, you did talk about a positive of all this. We've talked about this before. You know, taking away the positives. In a situation like this, there's less traffic, you're home more, hopefully you're getting more done, you're spending more time with family, so there's a lot to be said with that. So we appreciate your thoughts very much on that. Also too, I understand one region, you have an update on one region that you wanted to communicate to us?
For weeks now, I've been talking about the One Region Reignite program and the pledge. And they gave a look at it over the week and figured that with after what had happened downtown, it might be good to rebrand that from Reignite to the One Region Ready Pledge. And here's the thing for Mount Pleasant businesses where it really can be effective for us. There is a searchable database. There's a list that will be searchable, that if you take this pledge, I'm in this industry, these are the published best practices in a COVID reality for my line of work, for the type of business I'm in, and I fully subscribe. You will get the One Region Pledge logo that you can use. I talked about that before. One Region Ready. Used to be Reignite Ready. Now it's One Region Ready. You can put that on there, but also people can, and they've got a PR advertising marketing firm behind us that came up with the logo. They're going to be pushing this. So consumers may be home and say, ooh, I will check into that. And if they're going to think about doing business with somebody, they're going to go on this database and see if you've taken that pledge for those best practices. So we said, which number is, Monday with the Mayor is this now? 8, 9? I've lost track, but it seems it's been great.
Yeah, I'm not sure the number either. No, we're very appreciative, Mr. Mayor, of you and your time, and also of Lauren. But yeah, it's been great doing these.
Well, going way back, and I sound like a broken record, safety is a brand now. And this is a way to have your name. It's a very simple thing because you're probably already doing these things anyway. My wife and I went to lunch today. We ate outside and we're so impressed with this restaurant and every precaution they had taken and everything they had. And you got the feeling they took as their customer, they took our health and our safety very seriously. And so if you would sign up for the One Region Ready Pledge, the website where you can go to that is www. And this is all one word, oneregionstrategy.com/ready. One Region Strategy, that's the key word in there, .com/ready. So it's a very important thing to do. I would love to see a lot of Mount Pleasant businesses do that. Lauren, you might be keeping our own database. I think we've got a map, right, where people can go key on and see. You want to talk about that just for a minute?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. We do. We have an online interactive map where throughout the pandemic, businesses have been submitting information about what they are doing to continue operating. So for a period of time, it was, online carry-out orders, gift cards, things of that nature. And then once council passed the ordinance allowing for extended outdoor operations, the map expanded into that. So folks can log on and see which of their businesses now have expanded outdoor operations. And so it's being heavily utilized. We track the metrics on that map on a daily basis, and there is a lot of activity, particularly on the weekends. We have nice weather. There's a lot of folks on that map. So make sure you get your information on there if it's not already on there.
Good, thank you. And I don't know how much traveling people are doing. We did some traveling by car just to get away for a couple of days, and we went to North Carolina. And there is a noticeable difference between social distancing, mask wearing, some of the things that the retailers were doing in North Carolina to South Carolina. And you know, that's not a positive or negative comment. But what I would say is I hope Mount Pleasant businesses, since a lot of people come here, and I see Jennifer Maxwell's on here. Hey Jennifer, she's in hospitality and has served on the mayor's economic advisory panel, and which we will be doing some more now that there's a whole new economy. You know, I'm glad we didn't deliver a strategic plan for economy that has changed so drastically. Now we can really do one for the current reality. But a lot of people coming into town, a lot of them, I guess, are business, maybe a lot of them are tourists. But if they're coming from places that are a little more strict and where it's a little more noticeable about the distancing and all that, we don't want them to get the feeling that businesses in our area are not taking their health seriously. So, you know, I'm not saying this from a regulatory standpoint, just a business practices standpoint. I think it'd be real good to get on with this One Region Ready pledge. Use that logo, be on the town searchable map, and all of that. It's good for business is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and for those that are on the call, you should see in your chat, I sent you the link to that website. So feel free to check that out. And Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for communicating that information. Lauren, I wanted to bring you in for a moment while we're down this lane and talk a little bit about the Ppp Flexibility Act details. There are some very interesting details, obviously, that came out of that is of good benefit to not only business owners, but obviously our members to the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Congress did pass the Payroll Protection Program Flexibility Act late last week. And that gives some additional flexibility elements to those of you who have acquired the PPP, of which there were several who were in communication with us. Understand that there were some chamber members who may have helped in acquiring those. But just to give you an update on what the big pieces of that act are. So one of the things it did was it pushed the deadline for rehiring back from June 30th to December 31st. So it gave you some additional time to bring on or to rehire the additional staff as your operations continue to expand. It also reduced the payroll, required payroll amount from 75% to 60%. So if you have the payroll protection program, previously it required that you use 75% of the funds received on payroll. Now it requires 60%. So that gives you a little bit extra room to cover some additional expenses, other financial requirements. It also extended the time period to spend the loan from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. It eased some of the rehiring requirements, and it also extends your repayment term from 2 to 5 years. And so it's great news for businesses, but one thing it tells me is that they're understanding that this is going to be a longer term response. And so while we're all wanting to get back to normal and whatnot, we understand that we will be in this new normal for a little while longer, and we all have to do our part, as the mayor was speaking to earlier, about maintaining social distancing, wearing a mask, taking every precaution to help keep those numbers down and prevent further spikes in the number of cases. So just some hopefully good news for those of you who do have payroll protection. Wanted to make sure you have that information.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. And also, too, for those that are watching, if you want to go back and visit our YouTube channel and also the website, the Coronavirus Resource Center page, Joe Hinsky does a couple of different webinars on the PPP. So there's a lot of information that you can get there. But that's certainly good information and something that is well-deserved for the folks that are taking advantage of the PPP program. So I hate to bring up more bad news, but it's hurricane season. And we've got to get ready for that. So let's talk a little bit about hurricane season. Evidently, well, not surprisingly, it's going to be a busy hurricane season on top of everything else that we've had to deal with. What is the town, Mr. Mayor, doing, and Lauren as well, to prepare itself for what could be a very busy hurricane season?
I'll let Lauren talk a little more about it. On a big picture, I think everybody saw that state DOT announced that the lane reversal, instead of starting near 526, is going to start up by the Nexton exit north of Somerville. So when there is, and we know those are the extreme circumstances, when there is an evacuation order, you'll be able to use the interstate in most of the Tri-County area until you get north of Somerville, where the reversal will take effect. We have, fortunately, a very good emergency coordinator, Amanda Knight. Lord knows what she took this job, and a week later, I think it was Hurricane Irma, which seems like a history, but all the hurricanes, a snow event, a bridge outing, now a COVID emergency. And so it's like, Amanda got this job, and we said, well, let's just see how many different types of emergencies she's really good at. And the answer is she's good at all of them, which is really good. And so we have to think about that. We have to think about what evacuations would look like. And I think we've only had 2 that I'm aware of since I've been mayor. It might have only been 1. I hope it was only 1. But those are a reality that we have to think about. And the other is shelters, because how do you shelter people in a COVID reality? And I think, Lauren, did you have something to add on that?
Yes, sir. Just that, typically at the start of hurricane season every year, we remind businesses to make sure that they have continuity of operations plans, preparedness plans in place, and that they're thinking about some of these things like staffing, restaffing, how to reopen, when is the proper time to close, all of these questions that need answers, and make sure that you have that ironed out before the storm even forms, and you just are able to implement your plan and go. This year, obviously, with COVID, your response plans and your preparation plans could look a little bit different. So we just want to make sure that businesses are thinking about hurricane prep and response in a post-COVID world. From a staffing standpoint, we are working to put together some information to distribute to the businesses. We hope to have that in the next couple weeks, certainly by midsummer, in preparation for kind of the fall, which seems to be our kind of heavy hit time period. So from a staffing standpoint, we're working to get some more information to you, but just want to make sure that you're already thinking about those questions and what your responses will be, what your plans are going to look like.
Yeah, typically, August, September. Obviously, Hugo hit us in September. That tends to be the peak, at least for us, it seems. So we'll certainly be keeping our eyes on that, but grateful to the town for putting preparations already in place and getting ready for what many say could be quite a busy hurricane season. So we've covered a lot of ground today. Thank you both for your time, Mr. Mayor. There is a town council meeting tomorrow, and a number of items obviously are on the agenda. Your thoughts on that tomorrow, sir?
There are 2 that are directly business related are the timing on when we suspended the plastic container, plastic packaging ordinance. We suspended that, and we suspended rules on temporary signs, so that if you're like a restaurant and you say, patio open, or, it started out open for takeout or whatever. I can't always predict a vote of council, but I don't think that those will not get, extended, because we want to help our local businesses as much as we can. We don't have, because the Planning Commission has not met, we don't, other than a few very perfunctory annexations where some very small tracts are coming into the town, nothing controversial, nothing that's a game changer or anything like that. We will do those. But we don't have, any really big planning decisions that are coming. We're not taking up the building heights map that was sort of left in limbo, and we're not taking up the comprehensive plan. We're going to wait a while and probably have a special meeting, maybe at the end of June, but probably maybe earlier in July. Those are big issues, and we think we should probably do those. And there will be some special meetings coming up just because of the sheer volume of things. So we've got that coming up tomorrow night. And Lauren, I don't think I'm leaving anything out on that. I can't think of anything else. I looked at the agenda a little while ago, but I think we're good, and we'll be doing that. Look for some special meetings coming up down the road.
And folks can also watch the town council meetings on YouTube. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, and we are meeting in person tomorrow night. It'll be our first one since March, and it'll be good to get back. If you haven't been in the newly reopened town hall, there's social distancing, masks are required unless you fall into a health category where you're exempt, and we honor that. Seating, we spread people out and all of that. And I think the town staff has done a very good job, and it's got a very professional look. All the signs that tell you where to stand, and one way on the stairways and all that stuff it looks like it was done with a lot of care and a lot of class. So I'm real proud of that. So yeah, we're back at it tomorrow night. Hard to believe it's June.
It is. It's sometimes it feels like it's taken forever to go through this, and then some days you look back and you go, man, it's already mid-June already. So yeah, it's kind of a day-to-day type thing. So, well, that's all of the points we had to cover today. Anything else in addition from you, Lauren, or Mr. Mayor, that you want to communicate to our members today?
One thing I will communicate is I did hear from one legislator, and everybody's busy with their reelection, or those that have a primary is tomorrow, and I hope everybody will vote. The state legislature has either I don't know if they call it a task force or a subcommittee or what, but they are looking at passing some business liability regulations, so that if you open, and you, hopefully everybody is, but if by some way your business is in a contact tracing back to a COVID case or something like that, that you don't have to worry that you're going to get hit with a big liability case. And so I don't know what that will look like, but I look forward to seeing it. Of course, the legislature's not in session this time of year, on normal things. So whether this is something that they will come back and do when they're coming back in the fall to readjust the budget, I don't know. But everybody needs to know it's out there. And given the look of after the primary tomorrow, who your legislator might be something that you as a business owner want to have your ear to and talk to somebody who's going to Columbia.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Lauren, anything from you before we head out?
I think we have covered a ton of great information today. I hope it was helpful.
Absolutely. For those that are watching, we thank you very much for your time. A reminder about our Coronavirus Resource Center page at the website, mountpleasantchamber.org. Anything that you'd ever want to know about, not only the virus itself, but also the business implications to that. We've got well over 50 members that have put up offers and updates. We have a job posting section up there as well. A link to all of our YouTube, all of our webinars are there. And then you can also flip over to YouTube and watch those webinars there as well if you want to. So we've got a lot of information. You can follow us on all of our social channels, keeping you up to date on what's happening, not only with us, but also any vital updates that come down from the town. So with that said, Lauren, Mr. Mayor, stay healthy, keep moving forward, be safe.
Thanks.
Thank you.